World, but not on this platform. Here we go, live. Okay. Woo! All right. So introducers, do your introducing thing. All right.
Hello, BookWoman. Oh, yeah. Thank you. What? Oh.
It's very directional.
I have to. Oh, wow. All right. Hello, BookWoman. In the Texas poetry world, Cindy Huyser is a bit of a celebrity. Not long ago, a group of us party to support our friend Judy, who is reading her poetry in between musical performances. During her reading, Judy graciously thanked her fellow poetry group members, mentioning each of us by name. When she introduced Cindy, someone in the audience suddenly called out, "Wait, you wrote a book of poems about the Austin plant." In a crowd of folks mostly there for the music, someone recognized her work. This moment sums up so much about Cindy. Her poetry resonates deeply, even unexpectedly, and she shows up prepared, grounded, and gracious. Cindy is in so many ways the backbone of the Austin poetry scene and beyond.
From Michigan to Maine, Indiana to Ohio, New Hampshire to New Mexico, she has pursued the mastery of poetry. And in that pursuit, it hasn't mattered if she was the student at Pacific University, the teacher at the Austin Poetry Study Group, a volunteer at Poetry at Round Top, or the consummate host of Second Thursdays here at BookWoman. It hasn't mattered if she's dining with a Pulitzer Prize-winning poet or encouraging a person who is reading their very first poem for the very first time in front of an audience. What has mattered is how Cindy consistently brings her whole self to each moment, every moment. It's that devotion to the people that love poetry and to poetry that makes Cindy richer in friendship and in poems.
New York Times bestselling novelist and poet Jill Alexander Espom captures Cindy's power on the page best. Cindy Huyser's lyric cadences are equal parts flint and flame. This is a poet, polygot's tongue, and a scientist's obsession with the mechanics of language. How a sly semi-shift in syntax can create leaps of upheaval from one line to the next, all perfectly urging the reader to what will never not be a whiz-bang of an ending. Cindy Huyser is an acclaimed poet whose work has earned multiple Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net nominations, appears in respected journals such as San Pedro River Review, the Comstock Review, and Switchgrass Review. She has been honored as a feature poet at the Houston Poetry Fest and has presented at other juried events like Scissortail Creative Writing Festival. As an editor, she co-edited Bearing the Mask, Southwestern Persona Poems, a Will Rogers Medallion Award honoree, and has contributed to many editions of the Texas Poetry Calendar.
We want to end on some touching words from our fellow brass tacks poet and dear friend, Tina Posner. I met Cindy at the critique workshop at the Hancock Recreation Center. I was blown away by the collision of sensual language and heavy machinery in her award-winning chapbook, Burning Number 5. The poem, Magnetic North, from her latest book is a stunning tribute to love and connection. We're a tangled system of gravities and belonging, each of us, trapped in orbits so much larger than ourselves. We feel so lucky to be tangled in Cindy's gravity, in writing groups and in friendship. Tonight, we all get to experience that gravity of language and presence, of the beautifully constructed world that is Cindy Huyser's poetry as we celebrate the release of her latest, most beautiful book, Cartography. Please join us in warmly welcoming the incredible Cindy Huyser.
Wow. I think I wasn't expecting all that. And you guys are so generous. And Jill, that was just blew me away with your words. Everyone, I feel so lucky because I'm in this community that is so rich and so has so held me through years of practice, through years of difficulty. This is a community which has helped foster my own growth and allowed me so many opportunities, and I would not be here without you. So thank you all for being here and for being part of my community. So yes, Burning Number 5 is my first book. By the way, Susan asked me to say that we do have more copies of Burning Number 5. She was looking for them. I have some on hand. If people want Burning Number 5, they will be able to get Burning Number 5. So, but this is my first full-length collection, Cartography. And as you all know, cartography is the art of map making. So the central metaphor in this book is about how we make maps of our lives, how we understand our own places in the world and what that world looks like as we move through our lives. And so that will be kind of like that's the theme that runs throughout the book. So the book doesn't have any sections. It's all kind of like one thing. There's kind of a preamble poem and then a postscript poem. And so my reading is mostly going to go roughly in the order of the book. And so here we go. Start with the very first poem in the book. As bodies exert their forces. That afternoon, the sea drew back her garments. Plovers chased tide on chaffed, tatted flats. Derelicts scattered all the way to the high water line. Bivalve and nautilus, thick tip of a whelk heavy in my hand. The sand splayed layers, light on dark, ghost turn feet. Afterwards, I wished you could see me that way. Tide pulled down, churn of cell and salt within me, the splintered shells, all the brittle hidden things. And you're not required to clap between each. It's okay. You may, if you're moved, you may clap, you may whatever it is you do, but you don't have to. So, outbound from anywhere. Highway, give me your vast caressed skin, your cloverleaf beehives, your double-decker bus vision, your rafts of steel-belted abandonment, your green shatter of safety glass. For who would not love a traffic cone, guardrail, reflector in the hours when direction grows trackless, decision and good sense thumb-hitching wayfarers at the mercy of broad shoulders? Your hair, the endless trees and streaming grasses of pastures and cornstalks in summer. Streetlights, your shining eyes. Your mile marker lashes, your tattooed lines, your freckled dashes. Teeming truck tires describe the length of your limbs, revolutions rising in velocity and tachometer. My highway. Your thighs thick with promise and daydream, my pulse, the pulse of expansion joints. Along your flanks, bucket trucks salute as the radio sputters into gospel. Where you lead me, I will follow. Siren hours. The part of me that's Ulysses sways listless against the mast, forgets sleep for song, neither right side nor left against the sheet any difference. Here is a thing I chose, like the seat on the bus where the cold vent blows right on me. The handrail I touched, words I spoke, thoughtless as transmission of a virus. It's the tickle in my throat that explodes to leave me teary and wretched after I've struggled and struggled to contain it. That thought that wakes soon as the light's gone out. strategy and plan that lashed themselves to memory, siren hours from the night. I pretend these voices are other than they are. Forget I know how to swim in the red clouds that would rise if only I could let them, if only I could stop my ears from the song that I myself am singing. Navigation by starlight. In the dream, Father, you rode cloud-born with a retinue drawn by 4 white horses. I thought I heard you hail me, raising your hand, though perhaps you were only praising something I could not see. I had walked many miles through the forest of exile and stood on the banks of sorrow. Twisting cypress marked the sacred grove. In caves of root and rock, the sages meditated. I cried out, Father, Father. I called your name until my throat was aching. But your driver on his plush blanket of stars was already turning the coach away. When I woke, my pillow was wet with tears. Next to my bed lay 3 black stones, smooth and cool and smooth as the cheek of a god, the river I had forded. Love song of a summer night. Suppose tonight we lie down beneath the stars, naked and unopposed by walls and ceilings. Then the rising moon would candle, full as my heart with you, full as my body with you, this radiant pleasure. Suppose again the singing of the frogs, voices call and respond down the creek, loud, insistent, hungry. Suppose a raft drifting slow, rocking in the current of the creek, frog song everywhere around, the reedy rub of rushes. Your touch, your touch. Even the stars would swoon, swept in such a tide. Page from the family album. The truth of the matter is, I distinctly remember this is something I no longer remember. A physical manifestation of distinctions between subject and object. The facts before me. Long, straight hair, denim jeans, blue or not blue. Is the check of the shirt incontrovertible? What of the house? It's brick and siding. So many arguments to be made. Can we say someone took this picture, or at least that this picture occurred? Occurred as in flickering exposure, images swimming from a chemical bath. I know there was anger behind the face I snapped into a smile before the shutters wink. Oh, come on. Even now, we can never agree. So part of the journey of this cartography is the cartography of grief, but it's also the cartography of resilience. So the next several poems encounter that. The first one's called 10 of Swords. And by the way, I want to dedicate this reading to my beloved wife of blessed memory, Deborah Weingarten, who was so much a part of this community. 10 of Swords. Remember those early dates on Sunny Lane, when Saturn tipped its brim and the moon's pocked face revealed our solar system's lonely constancy? 4 tiny pearls lined up to next Jupiter. whose bands and zones we spied only with averted eyes. You loved astronomy and astrology, to witness galaxies and planets unspooling their mysteries. You read tarot after your MRI, before the diagnosis. In the outcome's foreground, 10 blades pierce a red-draped corpse. Dead end, ruin, collapse. Behind them, the sun already set, and a sky-colored lake clear as a view to infinity. Best possible place for a drink of water. What the dying woman wanted was a party. One more big gathering while she could still enjoy it. Minyanim with bagels and whitefish, a chapel packed and singing. The calendar crammed with visitors, hospital, hospice, home. In 1998, we'd had only snapshots, llamas tied jumping the corn dolly, and here we were 20 years after, crowned with floral wreaths again. Video vows before Gog and Magog paused so we could add our voices. Facebook live streaming our journey from the 4th floor to the basement through a crowd of faces at the event center doors. Cakes, cheese, nuts, grapes, punch. Decades we'd promised to feed each other. Our friend bowing the violin, the music of toast after toast. Bed rails wrapped in rainbow ribbon I would twist around my hand as we packed for hospice. A material witness, precious artifact in the museum of my grief. How I want to believe in that lost civilization, our terrible happiness. Some rough stuff here. Okay, so the next poem has a title that comes from a song by Ed Sheeran, and so I'm going to sing the title, and then which leads into the poem. I'm in love with your body. In the grocery aisle, daydreaming of your sweet pear torso. Unfocused on hunger, contact, incidental or not. The hand you bring to my breast, eyes widening, big grin. In the hospital hall, rolling back to your room, forward trajectory of illness. What can't be and is. Our attraction, a spell of charged particles. Even in the shadow of bombardment, fractures and tumors. You are my anchor as I tack towards sadness and fear. Reef of pain so close as I slip in beside you. Rain Lilies. And this is the poem that is so beautifully presented on the letterpress postcards that Judy created in honor of this launch. Rain Lilies. How you loved the sudden spate of them. Red and white faces atop thin stalks, their brief appearance. Just weeks ago, the season beginning its change. Through the open window by the rented bed, raindrops burr against walkway, cicadas, a grumbling sky. We turned out the lights. We tuned our pupils to green, darkening at the front of the house. We raised the shade, both of us drinking all that was left of the afternoon's light, pulling the petrichor inside us as if somehow we could hold it. Now the rain lilies too are gone. just when you think you've turned a corner. You turn to where your friend is pointing, smiling at the hand-wrought thing that doesn't mean what it does to you. You look for somewhere else to look until the friend is ready to move on. You're ready to move on too, or so you've been telling yourself. Along the elevated highway home, the high-rise hotel's checkerboard illuminates the balcony where the two of you took in dusk. A light box that backlights the transparency of your grief, shows you the bones of that love, that pleasure. Ahead, the weather in your throat grows cloudy, a fog that seeps into your ears like a dozen upset bees. Then you're past it. The scene ghosts into the rear view as you steer along the steady stream of headlight, tail lights flaring as you point yourself into the darkness. The lavender beyond. Just like that. Today takes yesterday's place, and though I'm sure you knew heart partner before I thought to say, yesterday your brother joined you in the lavender beyond. Your mother's death begat a heap of possessions that you held onto, dispossessed. Then Martha left and left her things, and then your dad. Possession begat demons as dying begets the living's fretfulness. We're passengers underground, where red dots blink toward the line's terminal destination. Just where did you get off, I want to ask, though nothing here will answer. You consulted an astrologer, asked your rabbi about reincarnation, read the experts on whether there are ghosts. As Mark was dying, he heard your sister call from the other side, "Let's get this show on the road." Now, not even one of you is left. Maybe today you're playing summertime with your siblings in the lavender beyond, tongue trilling whole notes on your spooky flute, all whirls and inflorescence. Uncovering rhizomes after neglect. The yellow bearded iris hides its face. Not one stalk in dozens of green blades, not one golden petal streaked with rust. It's March. It's rained. Elsewhere in this town, purple petals crumple, spent with pollen stripped from stamen to pistil. Bed after bed as bawdy as bordellos. But the red oak's generosity, its rhizomes lie like aging fingers aching for the touch of light. I tuck my black rake, an octave wide, between them to the blackbird's song, Itu, Itu. A small gray moth, its sleep disturbed, rises from the leaf pot in a blur of wings. So the last two poems I'll be reading are the last two poems in the book. And so the poem I'm about to read is called Delta Aurigae, and it's the name of a binary star system. And on the day Debbie passed, one of her childhood friends had her name registered as an alias for this star. So the poem is called Delta Aurigae. The moon slow lifts its sickle scowl or smile above a skiff of clouds, this tumbling world. Mass trapped in gravity's tandem grasp, this tide pull pusher, this maker of blades that glint across bodies of water. Soon, new moon, no moon, your pulse, the chill of darkness. Stars in their nightclub glory, glitter, sequin, diamond, rhinestone, moth holes in midnight's garment, every worn metaphor that fails the brightest of burnings. You and I, astrometric binaries orbiting our absent companions. Star that grief gave your name, for how many light years have your photons flown? Our universe infinitely expanding, bodies moving always away. The light of Proxima Centauri, our nearest neighbor, has wandered more than 4 years to find us, not quite as long as you've been gone. But tonight, between Capella and the tip of Lynx, I feel you, me, close as a pinprick. So the last poem in the book is called Accordion. Like some other poems in the book, it is an ekphrastic poem, which means it's a poem that's written in response to art. This is a poem written in response to a photograph by Jim Bones of a folded seabed in Mexico. And there's a word test that's in that first stanza. And in this case, it's the specific word for the shell of a very tiny organism called a forum. So the poem is called Accordion Song. After so long a time, some would imagine there could be no memory of the taste of decaying larvae, sense of sea pulse inside my test. Though my dreams are full of tide and salt and a swerving that now seems dizzying. Some have called me well behaved, though once I radiant, sea drunk millions. Call me silt bed has been, centuries compound calculus. Coral and forum, mollusk, I passed the way of the algae I ate. I shed my animal husks. On the back of the body I was becoming. I was born up. I was carried. I grafted my bones with air. Limb dissolved into limb, hinge into hinge. It is true my face wears the accordion song of unimaginable pressure. But do not pity me. There is solace in this dislocation. I have learned even stone can bend and survive. Thank you so much for sharing cartography with me. Wow. So there are books. If anyone has a question, I'm glad to answer a question. Quick Q&A. Susan.
Curious, not being a poet myself, what is your process? I mean, you sort of get an idea and then you write, or you write and then it comes to you.
You can turn
how
off
does
the.
it work?
Okay. It works sometimes. Usually, it starts with. It often involves sound, and sometimes it starts with an idea. Sometimes I'll have like a topic that I'm working with, but more often it's there that kind of instigates a feeling that. Jill.
Was cartography always the title?
Yes. Yeah, it was from the very first iteration, and the book has changed quite a lot. It used to be in sections.